I'm excited for my guest today. I feel like I say this a lot, but it's very true. We're chatting with actor Dorian Missick about, well, there's so many projects that you've done, but we'll start with the most current, Shirley, which is a fantastic film starring opposite Regina King, Lance Reddick, Terrence Howard, releasing March 22nd, directed by Oscar winner John Ridley. This is a great story about the first Black congressman, political icon, Shirley Chisholm, and her trailblazing run for president. It's a period piece, 1972 presidential campaign, and I haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer, and it looks really good. I think people are going to enjoy this. Dorian, it's great to meet you. Thank you for your time.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's talk about this film. What can people expect when they have a chance to watch? I gave the log line there, but you play a very intricate part in this story.
Yeah, as you said, it's about Shirley Chisholm's run for president in '72, and I play the role of Ron Dellums. He's a congressman out of Oakland who was pretty much Shirley's main, side man. He really helped champion her campaign throughout it, and they were really good friends and supporters of each other, and they shared like minded views in terms of politics. And so it's just we clock that little period of time. We jump in on that period of time when she's running, and during the national conventions and things like that, where we watch her campaign go. And when I think that people are really going to be able to walk away from this is there are a lot of people who aren't familiar with Shirley Chisholm, and so that there's that starting off there. You're gonna get your introduction to Shirley, but then also I think that it should help galvanize people, during this time, to get out and vote and to realize that a lot of the issues that were going on back then are still, kind of at play today. And so, if there's anything that kind of wants you to kind of push you to want to vote, it'll be to see like, wow, this is history sort of repeating itself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a term, there's nothing new under the sun,
Right.
is very true. Like, and that's the thing that I think is important about this film is, as you said, yeah, it's important for people to get out and vote, and your vote does matter, right? Like, it's not just something where you want to be sitting on the sidelines, so to speak.
Right. I think when people take an active approach to politics in particular, or anything, actually, when you take an active approach by at least, researching the issues and things like that, not only does it make you more educated on what's going on in your community, but you feel you understand what role you play and how much of a part you have in enacting change, and it just changes the way we move and the way we look at our fellow man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the
Mm.
cast is stacked to the brim,
Yeah.
which almost every single project you've ever done has been a stacked cast. I want to ask you, as a storyteller, what is important to you, Dorian, when it comes to choosing what you're going to do? I know oftentimes it can be financial, like you have bills to pay, you have car payment, rent. Other times it can be just for the simple story, or it could be the writing, or it could be the cast, or it could be the director. What do you look for?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely director first. Quite honestly, because you spend so much time with them, the other actors and script are huge parts to me. I mean, generally, if you got a good director, you're gonna have a good script. So, because sometimes you can have a good script and a bad director, and that experience won't be that great. I've had that before. So I've started to kind of think about the director first, who's going to be driving leading the ship. So I choose that first, and then how does my character fit into the story? Do I feel like I have anything I can contribute? Am I going to learn anything from this? Of course, finances play a role in it, and scheduling. You know, do I feel like going away from home for this amount of time, or am I going to shoot it here? I mean, I once did a movie because I could ride my bike to set. That wasn't the best movie I'd ever done. I probably wouldn't make the decision again, but at the time, it made sense.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard plenty of stories where actors take jobs because it's in their neighborhood almost sometimes, like it's local. Where are you based out of? Are you in LA? Where are you at right now?
Yeah, right now I'm in LA.
Okay.
I'm a New Yorker, but so I used pretty much was bi-coastal for years up until like maybe last year. I've kind of just now completely planted roots in LA.
Was it just cumbersome traveling back and forth all the time? I would imagine financially. And then I'm sure COVID didn't help. And then the strike. I mean, there's just a lot of varying factors for actors who are bi-coastal.
Yeah, it was all that. COVID, the strike, everything. Because we had a property, my wife and I had a property out in New York that we would rent out to other actors who were going to New York to work when we weren't there. And during COVID, that made it a little difficult to do, because just it's just not at the time we didn't know whether that was a safe thing to do, and a lot of people productions weren't happening, so it just became a thing. And quite honestly, I've got to a point where I spend more time out here. My wife works out here, and I just decided, you know what, let's just try to see this do this California thing full time for a minute and see how it feels. I mean, it doesn't mean I'm not going to jump right back out to New York anytime soon, but as it stands right now, it's my first time in my life not having a place there.
Yeah, I mean, New York's a great city too. So, I mean, it offers so many different things, I would think, for an actor that maybe LA doesn't, but then LA is kind of the place. But now we're in this age. I was joking a little bit with your publicist. Like, this is the age that we're in as far as technology and the way things are being done. How has your experience been with auditioning now, being it where it's virtual mostly? How do you enjoy it? I'm not leading the witness here. I really am curious though, like
Yeah.
what has your experience been? Do you prefer being in the room versus on camera via Zoom? I've heard a lot of different opinions and perspectives.
You know what, it varies because being I think that this tape thing and this making your own tape and sending them in thing is really striking the LA actors the worst, because if you're a New York actor, anybody outside of the LA market, we're used to putting ourselves on tape. I've literally been putting myself on tape since like '01. When I used to have to FedEx VHS tapes to casting. So I'm it's kind of like I'm used to it, because if you're in New York and you can't get out to LA and be in the room, or if you're in any market and you can't get to LA to be in the room, you might be on vacation or something like that. It was not a big deal for us to record ourselves. I'm kind of used to it. I like to be in the room with the director and the other actors. Like if we're doing like chemistry sessions, it works better when you're with the person. So I prefer to do it like that. But I mean, just for like maybe a lot of times your first stage is just you meeting the casting director. I don't really mind doing that from home. It's not a big deal to me because even when you go in to see the casting director, they have an idea of what the director wants,
Right.
and so they can help you a little bit. But for the most part, they are just telling you, look, give me your take on it, and if it's going the wrong direction, I'll have you do it again. But give me a take on it. But you really don't get to interact with the director until you meet with them, and so I never really had a problem with the taping thing, and for me, it's a little more organic to my process because a lot of times you come in auditions, you have to show up, especially if it's just you and the casting director. You're showing up with an already finished performance, and and it be kind of rehearsed, and you practice your beats and all that because you don't know what they're gonna give you. So that kind of sucks. Whereas when you do a tape on your own, at least in my house, because my wife's an actor, so we work with each other. It's like, you get that interaction that you would get with another actor. So if she delivers a line a certain way, I can receive it in another way. And it just makes for a more organic experience. And I don't feel as stressed and pressured to have the lines down, have all the beats down. I can just have the lines memorized and just show up and do the scene. And it works a lot better for me that way, which is how I do my director meetings or chemistry sessions anyway. But it's something about getting in the room with a casting director that like you have to have all of your beats down because you just don't know what's going to get thrown at you. And I'm not talking
So,
about the great ones. I'm just talking about, everyone, other
yeah,
ones.
no, for sure. So when you're doing Grand Theft Auto, are you in studio for that or are you working from home and recording everything? Because Vic is just
Yeah, that was fun.
that was a very cool thing. I think everybody's waiting for a Grand Theft movie, but I don't know if that'll
Yeah,
ever
me too.
happen.
Me included. I never thought about it, but it's like a thing that just won't go. Not really that I want it to go away, but it's a thing that people are constantly bringing up to me. And I didn't realize I'm just now kind of realizing just how big of a success that project was. I mean, it was so much fun to do. I was a gamer at the time, so I was fully into the video game world. So that was like, man, that was incredible to do that. But at the time, we recorded the whole thing down at the Rockstar offices, which were in Soho, which was great. You know, it was cool. It was like showing up to an indie rock label and working all day. It was cool, man. You know, great craft service. I had a ball. Like I really enjoyed that process, man. It was. I would love to do it again. If they ever called me, I would do it in a second. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as I said at the beginning, you've had some really, I mean, everything you've done is great, but there are a few things. I just recently saw you in Better Call Saul.
Oh wow.
You popped up in a few episodes there as I was reaching that Southland. Of course, uh, uh, I just lost my train of thought there. Luke
Yeah.
Cage. I mean, just so many great things. But having worked on some of these landmark projects, what are maybe one or two things that you've learned as an actor, either from somebody you've worked with, or it could be your current project, Shirley, that somebody you've worked with that has impacted your career and really made you look at what you do on set differently? Maybe it's a process that's different, or maybe it comes to choosing roles differently. Is there anything that stands out to you?
You know what? I learned something on every job just because I kind of walk into the process open to learning. Like, what can I learn? You know, I find that when I approach work from that perspective of from a curious perspective, I kind of work better and I don't judge my own work. I don't judge myself and I'm more relaxed. Uh, so, you know, it's tough to say if there's any one thing that I've taken away. I take away a lot, you know, and it's like you can learn from anyone. You can learn from a kid. You know, one of the things that's great from watching child actors is that, you know, especially the really young ones, they don't know how to act. Like they're just being, you know what I mean? And so you watch them just get comfortable and invest in a scene in a way that adults maybe have practiced it or maybe thought like, you know, on this beat, I want to accomplish this thing. It's great to just watch them be free and, you know, so a lot of actors who are the best, like Jamie Foxx is really good at this, where he's just kind of got this childlike approach to the work where it's, you know, he's just free. He's willing to try anything. And those are my favorite actors to kind of work with and learn from. Alan Ruck, he's a guy like that. He has that same style of acting. So, you know, you take a lot of things away. I remember I worked with Josh Charles and years ago, and my character was supposed to be in awe of him. It was like copying everything he did, and so I was super aware on that set. Like whatever he does, I'm gonna do it. If he's drinking coffee, I'm gonna drink coffee. I don't think he noticed that I was copying him, but it worked. And so I still hold my sides the same way that he did on set. It's weird, but you know, you pick up a lot of things, man, as you go along. As long as you stay curious, you can learn anything.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, and having done so many different projects, when did you know, Dorian, that you wanted to be an actor?
Man, I'm still figuring that out.
Okay, that's fair enough.
You know, I'm still like, man, if I could do something else, would I? I love DJing, and sometimes I'm like, man, should I just go on the road and just call it a day? So you know, it's kind of I don't have a love hate relationship with it. I think I come from a family of storytellers, so I started out as a child actor, but when I was a kid, I was just kind of doing it for fun, kind of like you know, some kids are in the Cub Scouts, some kids are you know, on the soccer team, which I was, but I also did acting. But as I got to like in my 20s and I realized I could make a living off of it. And there were artists that I was working with who I really admired. That's kind of when I decided, look, you know what? I want to do what they're doing. But it took me a minute. And then there are days when I'm like I tell you, where I'm like, maybe I should do something else. If I could, what would I do?
Yeah, that's always the question. Well, let's talk about the podcast because that's great too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got a podcast releasing, I don't know, sometime this year on with Annie Studios called Soul Incarcerated. And it's myself and Jamie Pietras. He's the main host. I'm kind of a co-host and music specialist. But it's about a band called The Edge of Daybreak. And they formed in the Powhatan prison in 1979 and they recorded their album behind the prison walls in the common area. The record company came down and recorded their whole album there, and they put the album out called Eyes of Love, and they put this whole album out, and they you know they dispersed once they released from prison, and so you know we got the band back together, and we had them do a new album, and so this podcast kind of follows that journey and also tells their story.
Very cool. One last question, and I have to ask, like, when you work on all these different projects, again, it could be from that or maybe from friends, family, other actors. What is the best advice, Dorian, you've ever been given in your life that has helped sustain you and kept you going, whether it's as an actor, podcaster, whatever the case might be, that continues to push you to thrive in the arts?
Just recently, someone told me this. I don't. It's another actor, but he said you are enough, and that's something that like translates all over the different things that you do. Is like, we're all made special. We're all created differently. And so we all have a different voice and a different take on something. And particularly in the entertainment business, you can be told that, well, this isn't it, or you can get the impression that you're not enough. You need more. You need to be more this way or more that way. And just kind of sitting in your uniqueness has helped me sustain throughout this whole thing, because once you understand the fact that you're unique, you have your own voice, you know that whatever's for you is for you, and whatever's not for you isn't for you. And it's not to be taken personally. Somebody likes their own special thing. It's like we all might like gourmet food, and let's say as actors or performers, we're all, let's say, a dish on the menu, all gourmet dishes. And today somebody might feel like swordfish, and tomorrow they might feel like you. It just depends on what it is. So understanding the fact that none of this is personal, I think has really helped me sustain and continue to have fun and enjoy the process. So knowing that I'm enough and enjoying the process has definitely been two of the biggest pieces of advice. Enjoy the process. Find a way to enjoy each step.
Best advice ever for everybody listening. Dorian, thank you for your time. Be sure to watch Shirley in theaters very soon. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, man.
Pleasure. Thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely.